Hello, good morning, good evening, hopefully not good night, but if so, good night. Thank you for joining me and thank you for giving me your time to tell you more about e-learning team that can be a force to be reckoned with. Hopefully at the end of the session, you will have a better understanding of how to recognize challenges when setting up e-learning team, how to understand hurdles that may occur in your future career. You'll hopefully have a better way of setting up a hiring strategy, probably not fully, depending on the organization, it may be different for you. And you'll know how to facilitate a work environment that supports growth and active development and positive environment. Okay, let's just jump right into it. I have 5 steps for you. They all have sub-steps, and I prepared some additional material. Everything will be available on my blog, so if you feel like diving deeper into those sub-steps or going for some additional reading, there will be a link at the end of the session. Feel free to use them, feel free to copy them and distribute them as well. Okay, step number 1. Step number 1 is know your position. And let me tell you, I had no idea how much this could change my approach to setting up a team, but also how this can change the approach of other people in the company towards my team. Everyone knows e-learning mostly. This has been actually changing a little bit, but in most companies, it's still kind of like, oh, this is the team from the videos online, you know, some variation of that quote. So knowing how your company thinks about e-learning in general, knowing how your company and what your company knows about your team, your managers, your bosses, whether it's included in the company values or in company vision, this will give you a better understanding of where you stand and how you can develop and what is your starting position. If you don't have that knowledge, you can set up a team, but everyone else will know nothing about the team. They will not support you. They will have no incentive to support you either. So make sure that you can have that knowledge to start with so you can develop your team better. Find out what exactly are the reasons to expand the team. If this is not your decision, if this is the company's decision, make sure what they want. Do they only want more videos, or do they want to expand the entire idea of e-learning? Make sure that you include that in your findings as well. Figure out how your team matches the company vision. In general, make sure that the values are shared, but we'll talk about this later in more detail. Try to connect what you and your team and you know, generally what e-learning can do to other teams around you. So make sure that you're changing that narrative of, oh, it's just a team that creates videos online or something boring that is online, to how you can help them realize their goals, how you can help them move towards the future in terms of the entire company. When you find that out, put it all together, analyze those findings and define your challenges. They're going to be different in every situation. If the company knows nothing about e-learning, your challenge would be to make sure that you explain to them. And when I say explain, I don't mean go and give them the definition, but you'll be able to plan things that your team will do and actions that you need to perform to make sure that everyone around you and pretty much the entire company, asterisk depending on the size of the company, but you want as many people as possible to know why your team should be valued and how your team can help them achieve their goals. And you're gonna get recognition as a byproduct, so yay! When you have all those findings and those challenges, start a conversation about e-learning. So again, educate other people, make sure that you do it, that you can adjust that conversation to what they already know and how they speak, but start the conversation that you're there to rock the boat, you're there to help them, you're there to help the company, and they can use you and use your help and use your team. This will give you so much support. Those are the findings that you should have before you start hiring people, before you start planning anything. All right, so when you have all those findings, we can move to step number 2. Have a vision. Your company will have one probably, fingers crossed, so you at least have some kind of an arrow pointing you in the right way. but you need to make sure that the vision is adjusted within your team. So you cannot just be doing your company's OKRs, because that's going to be way too much, and it includes all the other teams as well. So you need to make sure that you funnel this to have a clear vision for your own team. And to me, in my experience, that has two parts. The first part is your vision. It's what you know about the company that other people, that your team members don't. It's what is being talked about with your higher-ups. It's what is mentioned by your managers and the manager of your manager and everything. Because at the end of the day, you probably work for a business, so they have their own goals and your managers have their own goals as well. If you have a more innovative company, the whole vision is still important. The conversation might be different, and the percentage of your or the way that you're involved in it might be different. But definitely make sure that you use those pointers to create your team's vision. Make sure that you use that information that your team members don't have to help them craft it. And then the other part of it is your team. Because you would have a team of people, and all of them will have different ideas of how to achieve things and what should be achieved in the big span of things, thinking about your products and your company. Make sure that you take your information, but you also involve your team in the discussion, and you figure out how to craft the vision. Obviously, you're going to include the goals that need to be included, but make sure that you listen to your team and include goals and elements that they want to achieve as a team as well. You will spark their innovation, you will also spark their loyalty and respect, and you will make them feel responsible. So instead of giving them the responsibility for someone else's goals, you'll make them feel responsible because they'll be part of those goals that they set up, and they'll be more linked with them, and they will have more emotion towards them. So obviously they'll be working as a better team. When you do that, hopefully, you'll find a common vision. And yes, there'll be things that you won't be able to give them. There'll be things that you need to put in there because some higher up said so. Unfortunately, that's the reality. You might start a discussion with someone else about how to change it, but if you can't, you need to make sure that in your discussion with your team, when you set up those goals, that they are clearly aware of that, and you need to make sure that there are some elements that they proposed. And with that common vision, it'll be way easier for your team to work. It'll be easier for you to manage them because they'll be working for at least some elements that they wanted to work for anyways. And with that, we move to step 3, find your team. Not necessarily find the right team, because I believe that the right team suggests that you're gonna hire people that you like and people that think the same way, which is completely not what I think you should be doing. This is the part of that you can elevate in your hiring strategy, definitely, depending on what your involvement is. And to me, there are some elements that everyone would say and everyone would copy in HR between companies. But there are good equivalents or better equivalents that I think you should be striving for, instead of those that are, there are buzzwords that everyone follows. And the first buzzword for me is culture fit. So we're hiring people to fit their culture and whatnot. And this is a problem because many organizations don't even have a clear definition of what their culture is. And at the end of the day, what exactly is company culture if you think of it? Is that being respectful? Well, that should be human culture, not company culture. Is that saying yes to all the ideas? Well, that poses other risks. So what exactly is that culture that you're trying to fit people into? It's really hard to do, it's really hard to measure, it's really hard to explain other people what do you mean by that. And in most cases, what it actually means is, will I go with this person for a beer afterwards? Will we have the same sense of humor? And to me, yes, that's pretty cool if you can do it. But at the end of the day, you want people who will develop themselves and develop each other. Instead, what I suggest to do is look for people who are more of a values fit. So your company will have values, and you will have values. Hopefully, when you create your vision, you'll probably discuss them, and hopefully you'll discuss them. So look for people who share those values, because then the road and the journey won't matter. What will matter is that you'll be going towards the same direction. And to me, that's much more important than being a cultural fit and having someone that I can always joke with. So this is one. Another installment of culture fit is looking at things the same way, and people who share your sense of humor or share your ideals or stuff like that. But hire people who are diverse. With diversity, you're gonna have so much more creativity and innovation. You're gonna have so many more ideas that are bounced around in your team, that the chances of finding the sweet spot, the chances of developing your product in a way that will be perfect or close to perfect are much better when you have diversity instead of the stagnant group of people who just laugh at the same jokes. At the end of the culture fit is fit. And to me, this word on its own is a problem, because I don't want people to fit. I want people to contribute. I don't want people to be the same. I want people to say, no, I have a different idea, and I want you to see how that idea is going to make our product better, or it's going to help us achieve some results. That's what I want to see. I don't want people who fit and stay in line. I want people who cross the line. I want people who test. I want people who want to contribute into my team and contribute to the values that we share and to the vision that we created. Another one that I hear frequently is, we want you to be proactive. Generally, yes, proactiveness is a good character trait. You don't want people to sit on their bums and do nothing. Yes. However, in my opinion, proactiveness should be a byproduct of how your team works, what your vision is, and how your team members are treated within your team and your company. For me, I'm striving for inclusion. Even if we're not proactive on one task, but we're included on something else. Even if we have different ideas, I want inclusion. How are you going to, or what are you going to do with proactiveness if everyone says no to that person? They're not going to follow on that project either way. If they do, then at the end of the day, someone will tell them, well, you just wasted a month of your time because we said no. And where is the proactiveness then? To me, that was always so confusing. I don't understand. To me, proactiveness needs to be something that happens naturally. You wouldn't even notice it. And team. Yes, I'm using the word team and I'm saying team members, and I will be, because for the lack of a better word. But in general, when I think about my teams, I think about community rather than a team. A team has members and every person has its own function. In a community, those functions cross. People support each other. People make sure that they fill in the blanks. So if you have someone who's doing one task, you can leave them be, but if they're struggling in a community, they're going to have support. In a community, they're going to be working together, doing different tasks, but working together. In a community, they'll be able to share their thoughts, negative, positive, everything, and therefore they're going to be a better as an e-learning team. And they're going to have more power doing things and more power making things happen. And that's what we want. Okay, so you know what other people think about your team. You created the vision, you hired people that you want to work with, people that will make your team better, people that will add to your team. Let's move to step 4. And step 4 is to advertise your team. Just don't sit down, don't do tasks and be happy that your team created a task or created something. Make sure that other people know this. Appreciate your team and praise your team, not only within, but also outside of your own team. Praise your team outside, in front of the entire organization, which brings me to another point. Advertise in the organization, depending on what is going on. It can be a newsletter, it can be a company kickoff. Make sure that your company is somehow mentioned. And side note, don't look for things to be mentioned, because if you're working in a good team and if you're doing great things, you'll always have something to advertise, you'll always have something to praise them for. So don't just put something so it looks weird in a company slide in this one big meeting, but make sure that you have something that you want to say and make sure that you advertise it in the organization, because that will loop us to step 1, Remember when you were doing the research of what they know about e-learning, this is also part of making sure that they know about e-learning. They know what you can do. They know how you can help them. So make sure that you do this advertising. Make sure that you scream. And also ask other managers how your team can help them. First of all, you advertise your team in the way, you mention your team to other people, but also you pass the message of, we're here for you, we're gonna help you do good, we're gonna help you strive to figure out your goals and achieve your goals, and we're here to rock the boat and help you and the company be good. And with those simple 3 elements of step 4, you're gonna attract pride, recognition, and awareness to your team. Everyone will know that you're there, everyone will know what you're doing, everyone will know what you're doing and how you're doing it. You will be proud of your team and your team will be proud of themselves. So make sure that you make the rumble and everyone knows what's going on. And that brings us to the last element. Step number 5, foster future leaders. I know there's this thinking, and it's changing in some places, but generally there's this thinking of we don't want our employees to develop because if they get better, they will want to leave the company. Well, the question should be, how can you make them stay? And letting them develop their skills and letting them, or putting your respect and your faith in them will create that loyalty as well. I'm not saying this is the only thing that will create loyalty, but this is something that will tell them, we value you, we want you to get better, because that means that the entire team and the entire company will get better. And again, if you have the vision that they took part in, they will have a better and bigger incentive to make the company and the product and the team better. And there are 2 elements to this as well. The first element, in my opinion, is team dynamics. So it's day-to-day activities, team meetings, cooperation with other teams as well. But there's also another element, which to me is the future leader element, which is team future. So you need to be thinking how you want to make sure that your people develop for the future of your team. So let's break this down into further steps. It's 5 steps for each group, 5 steps for team dynamics and 5 for team future. Easy to remember, everything's in 5s. For team dynamics, we'll start with fostering positivity. The first element is foster positivity. And I don't mean that you shouldn't be talking about negative stuff. You should be, but it should be done in a positive way. So there's no downward. So failures become learning moments. Make sure that you foster a team that can positively move forward from their failures as well. Another element, support and praise. I already mentioned that. Make sure that you support them and recognize them for the things that they do. And that recognition is also important, and it moves us to another element, which is celebrate victories. Not only within your team, outside as well, depending on the company, but make sure that you celebrate small victories. It's not only about the big goal that you're trying to achieve. It's also about the small steps that you're going. That's going to be motivating, and it's going to be helpful to go towards that one big goal as well. Know your team. Know what makes them tick. Know how people work. Know how you can connect with one person and what you shouldn't be saying to another person. Make sure that you can craft the conversation to reach them. Make sure that you listen to them as well. And that brings me to another point. Listen and react. You know how to talk to them, celebrate with them, praise them, foster positivity. Listen to what they say back and react to what they say. So don't only be available for a conversation, but act on that conversation. Support them. If they come in with questions, make sure that you answer them. If you can't answer them, make sure that you research them and answer them. Listen and react. And at the same time, there are 5 steps for team future dynamic. And we'll start with setting an example. Make sure that the values that you want your team to share, that you have them and you display them as well. Be the boss who sets an example and they will follow. I can't stress this enough. Listen and react. And don't only listen and react. Again, listen and react. Make sure that you listen what the problems are, what they want, but also make sure that you react. You won't be able to react to every single thing, but explain this to them, have a conversation with them, and react to what they say. Develop their skills. We already mentioned. Make sure that they can develop. Make sure that they can strive towards being better people. and better team members, because this will mean that they're going to be better inside your team. They're going to be better team members as well. Give them autonomy. Don't only give out tasks, make sure that they can work on those tasks in their own way. Make sure that they can cooperate with other people. Make sure that they can make decisions about tasks and actions that they were given. Make sure that they have this autonomy and foster that responsibility with them. And last but not least, be available. Listen, react, be available, celebrate victories. Be there for them. Listen to what they need. Try to figure out how to make sure that you can provide what they need and be available to whatever problems they can have. And in this way, we'll be there for you. So 5 steps, all of them have little stop steps, yes. With that, you will have a team that shares values, wants to be recognized, works very well together, knows how to discuss things, knows how to develop, knows where to go, knows that they can have a pillar of support in you, and in this way, you're gonna go very, very far. Think about that, encourage you to see what you're actually doing currently and what you could be changing. I encourage you to try some of those strategies and see if they work. I'm not saying everything will work for everyone, but moving towards recognizing our teams as such, sharing our vision, our values, developing skills, making sure that we are recognized, this will work only in your advantage and you're gonna have a great team. Thank you. As mentioned at the very beginning, if you're interested in additional reading or those sub-steps, or you would like to print some, look at some handouts that I prepared that have all those steps available to you, you can, old-fashioned put them into your cubicle. You can go to my blog, follow the address on the screen. You can download those. You can share them with anyone else. And for now, thank you so much again for your time, and good luck in setting up teams, and good luck in being team members as well. Thank you. Bye.